Healthcare.
Spectre Studios, playing for the spirit of the game.
Malifaux is a world aside from our own. Located through the Great Breach, it uses Gothic, steampunk, and Victorian horror with a dose of the Wild West thrown in to inject fun and depth into the magical lawlessness of a world rife with monsters, necropunks, man-machine hybrids, gunslingers, and power-hungry politicos.
Hey everybody, Benito here with
Mark
for Spectre Studios. We are back here for our Shifting Loyalties campaign, so our crews are back at it again, and apparently we got some crazy things going on. We decided to bring it kind of in town, and we are back with, if you remember our first video, go back and look, it's the same strategy, Reckoning. We don't like each other apparently. It's not a good one for us.
Yeah, so. Guild and Arcanist, but...
Yeah, it's been the age-old story in Malifaux forever, and apparently Cassandra's still doing bad things, and the judge wasn't quite happy with... More or less, the execution is the only one that got popped that whole, really went down that whole game, I think.
Yeah, because I didn't really do anything effective to you.
I think the gunsmith did. You did lose one death marshal part of that, but yeah, I hit and ran away, so definitely a reckoning in a calling. And the last time I did something that had the terminology to these videos with reckoning was with John, and he actually delivered pretty harshly with that reckoning on me. So I'm not looking forward to possibly that.
Well, I'm not really sure if I'm going to be bringing a whole lot of death in this either.
Yeah.
Because that has pretty much been the story. On-camera Malifaux games for me, pretty unremarkable.
Not so good.
Not so good at all.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty interesting. I think I have maybe a couple more games, or a few more kind of going on, but I've had some really good luck in the in-between, the aftermath aspects for my crew. Angelica has a toolkit because she has a free interact action kind of moving around. That really bolsters a lot for me to do the schemes and strategies. And Cassandra, just recently, I was sitting on a red joker for the barter flip thing, and I got to place that to get
that's right.
Thirst. So Cassandra has the Edict weapon gun.
One of the grand artifact weapons of all time.
Yeah, so that's you'll kind of see a little bit more of that in what you see with her going on. So she looks like she's doing some rangy things. It's because she's kicking that gun around right now, and that has some pretty cool stuff.
So yeah, between you having one of the weapons of the tyrants and the camera having the magical effect of destroying my cards as soon as record is hit, this should be a good day.
Yeah, I also have a trifecta though to add it to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a new Patreon supporter that has joined the Malifaux ranks, and he's a henchman for the Malifaux New England area. He's decided to come join our Patreon support, so he's now a hero in the campaign, and he's a gunsmith. So we decided with our Patreon ruling that he's also now getting additional power because you, the viewers, if you become a Patreon supporter, get to help be a hero. We want to make your hero stand out a little bit more. You're not the average Schmo Joe, right? And you have been a Patreon supporter for a long time and been my nemesis in X-Wing.
So
I'm hoping Adam Hellsbling, the gunsmith for the Arcanist now, could be that torment for you in here on this game.
I'm sure that he will be.
So he's going to get a +1 to his defensive flips. So he's a little tough to bring down, which is our Patreon motto. So pretty much in a lot of our different campaigns, we have another one in Infinity as well for another game to check out. So it's an awesome chance for you to join these games and alter the course. So as you can see, a lot is stacked up against the guild today.
Yep.
So we're using the Gaining Grounds schemes, which is a thing that you should be, so you kind of learn from a little bit from what's kind of going on. Like I said, from Adam, who's helped supporting us through his Patreon, is maybe showing some of these views out to some of his Malifaux players to learn and see some things in play. So we are using that. We're going to try to get to those things to get our script for our campaign and move forward without anyone having any vicious injuries, because the videos that you're going to see prior to happened pretty badly to some fellow crews this week.
Yep. So the campaign has gotten really bloody with a lot of the characters getting campaign injuries. But I'm just hoping that my secret underdog powers magically manifest, because with all of this going on, with all the stuff between the Tyrant's weapon, the Edict, and the Patreon gunsmith, and my usual bad luck with cards on camera, that being held down and pushed down that hard, it's going to magically rebound, things will work out for me, and that this will actually be a good straight up fight.
Well, the one good thing about, even regardless of coming out of this, because I haven't had really lost anybody, I've been able to add a few more crew members for some versatility. It does give you a lot of script at the end of this. This is one thing I like about the Malifaux campaign, as we're getting now, we've had some episodes into this a little bit now, is if you do play someone big, they have to still kind of play down to your level. They just get more options of the crew, how they want to pick out and play you. So that's cool. It's a really good balancing aspect to that. The next thing, even though they may have a few powers here and there, but everyone in Malifaux has some pretty good crazy things. As long as you get your synergy down and go to your schemes, you can still pull out victories. But in this case here, the script difference is going to allow you to really get back into what's going on with the game here. So I think that's pretty significantly cool for that. And you're also going to get the upgrade difference. I think you're going to end up with 2 more soul stones.
Yes.
To your henchman leader, so he's going to have a pretty good chance of staying on the table and delivering some damage. All right, so let's get into some action with the Reckoning and see how we pull this off.
All right, let's get to it.
Well, it was all quiet down on the town of Malifaux, except this organic crystal that just showed up right in front of the Star Theater. Well, cool, that news is gonna be a lot of trouble, so she brought one of her famous bodyguards, gunsmith Adam Hellbringer Hellsbling. Keep Cassandra and the girls alright, because didn't want any trouble at the Star Theater. Because you know who's coming around as soon as that thing manifested right in the center of the street. Yep, it'd be the judge, alright. Judge be coming with his boys, all them death marshals coming in to make sure anything manifesting for the Arcanist was going to be rightly collected by the guild. It was definitely going to be a scrap between the two.
Okay, so we've gone a eventful, really not eventful turn 1, just kind of really shuffling around, putting things. I did place 3 scheme markers.
Yeah, you're very schemy people.
Yeah, well, the mannequin, like I said, after first game, after I played, I realized how much more it is important to the performers of Colette's crew, well now Cassandra's crew at this main, that just really helps get things spaced out where you just don't have things bunched out. She's just a really cool little aspect. I know a lot of people may be thinking you're playing on some crazy ass terrain here with them being huge buildings, but I have a feel I just kind of feel like we're in the city of Malifaux. It's really kind of cool, and it is bringing a lot of challenges to this game. I played something with a couple of these 3 of these buildings before, and with the line of sight blocking, you definitely feel like you're going down streets and watching out what's going on, because you're moving in the back end. You got 2 death marshals. You have boxed.
Yeah, so the judge and the executioner both jumped into the death marshal's boxes. So currently my 5-man crew is down to 3 activations.
Yep.
So it's the 2 death marshals and the orderly walking around right now. I'm trying to get in position to set up what I'm doing. So we talked about the strategy. The strategy for this game is Reckoning, but the schemes are convict labor, quick murder, detonate the charges, and leave your mark,
yeah.
And another one that I guess neither of us is doing because we can't think of it.
Not off the bat of my head. I forget all those names, but they're all pretty new to me too, so
yeah, so
not very well with that.
So we're trying to set up for getting stuff done. I know that these performers are hypermobile and they strike from range. I've got a bunch of guild guns, but I'm not particularly accurate with them, so I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of, there's not going to be a lot of gunfire on my part.
Well, combat in this game is it's kind of, to me, it feels overrated. It's about the strategies and schemes.
Yeah.
So if you can get the right schemes placed in the right areas, that's where you're going to score your victory points and win games. So that's it has the illusion that you're thinking you're in a miniatures fight with eliminating, and then maybe your history of playing games like that. But Malifaux is definitely not that game. I've actually been losing models on a rapid pace. If you remember the first game, and almost tied the scenario because I was still doing the strategy and schemes. So as long as you can put your people in place, that's what you're looking for. Losing models is attrition to actually dropping those schemes or being in the right place for certain things like that. So it's first turn. It's early.
Yeah.
But now we're going to get some pivotal movement right now to see where that pull comes.
It's also really easy for the guy with the gunsmith to say that guns really aren't that important, whatever.
Yeah, I'm saying that now because Adam Hellbringer, he's already looking down the alley at the orderly, and I feel like he's going to be a dangerous and very popular hero for me now. He's really liked the crew that he got hired with Arcanus as a Cassandra, because there's lots of girls too, so gets into free shows, because a guy like that. We just ask him to help out.
It's a great job if you
shoot some guild guys. That's all.
It's an awesome job if you can get it.
He likes it. You like it, Adam, right? I hope I do you good right now. We'll see what happens with this.
All right, let's get to it.
Okay, let me get back in focus here. Alright, so we are now through round 2. I'm really digging this city terrain myself personally. I'm actually having a lot of fun with this, even though I'm not really engaging anybody. I got one shot with Mr. Hellbringer. Put a nice little ding on the orderly, but he walked by the house and band-aided himself.
As soon as he got back into the cover there, he's a test subject. So whatever it is that's coursing through his blood, it just fixes up holes like run flat, I suppose.
Doing good.
So,
but Adam hasn't given up on him. Angelica helped him by pushing him to the other side of the building. So he's kind of hunted, but he's got followed by 2 death marshals with your big bad boys in boxes. So they're probably coming out next turn here because it's about that area. You're running out.
That trick, that trick at least got me past the gunsmith for the first turn. Now we'll be able to see what happens next.
Yeah, what's going on with that? But the Cassandra's Arcanists have taken a 1-point victory lead. I have revealed convict labor because it's kind of really easy with Cassandra's crew, just chucking them all over the place. I've dropped like 5 already in turn 2 because they're all over the place. And again, Angelica started earlier because she has a free interact action because she has a toolkit. So that's a little bit of a bonus that I'm playing off the campaign rules, which is helpful there. So we got that going on right now.
Very, very schemy people. Very schemy people.
Yeah, and I'm glad I bought like a lot of scheme markers for her crew because I'm gonna be dropping them all over the place. Still good. So I'm in the center. I'm actually also next to the weekly event thing, which is the Arcane Monolith, which is kind of curious. I'll kind of show it a little bit later in some vid pics because it's like a fairy dancer. So I thought it was very themed. It kind of manifested on the streets, and that's what's happening importantly now. And of course the judge is blaming us for it. So, but we're trying to use it.
Well, let's see. That would be a magical event, and there are what sort of people in the theater?
Good investigations, Judge. Good investigations. Sorry about that.
You're just an honest businesswoman trying to get by and make a living. Certainly not.
It has nothing to do with Colette. I insisted nothing to do with Colette. So, but so that's where we are right now. Things are still kind of moving on the street. We're kind of shooting down alleys. It definitely has a feel of the Malifaux street world. I think kind of going on as you're coming around and ready to outflank me on the back end. So let's see if the dancers kind of skedaddle out of there, or what happens on turn 3.
It's time for me to at least attempt to do something. I'm done with walking and walking and walking.
I don't want to be blamed for anything, so I might just run around. That's what I did against the other Arcanists. So it's kind of fun that way. Turn 3. We have just finished turn 3. The scoring is now coming a little regularly. I've got Convict Labor pretty well set up. So that's now on a good track because you've gone straight to the corner and you have set 2 ski markers but took 1 off to do leave your mark. So you revealed your
So
first
I
ski.
finally, 2 turns of walking. In the 3rd turn, finally got a ski marker down, got a point for leave your mark, and still got to try and work on the rest. Of course, Reckoning is going to be a real challenge to try and catch these dancers and hold them down to take them out.
Well, as we're now in turn 3, and as you can see by the, I'm hoping you can see by the pictures that are kind of going through what's going on with that, I have not even tried to hit this scheme, this strategy, because I just think going into the teeth of you it would be more likely for you to get your scoring on that strategy than me. I figured if I can out-scheme you and keep myself out of giving any of the strategy points, I would play well to the scenario.
Well, having run into the gunsmith before, one of my defensive plans actually has worked.
Yes.
Because you hit me with a red joker for damage, putting 6 on the judge.
Yep.
So a soul stone burnt, got a 9 on that, so that took 2 points of damage off.
Yep.
And then the orderly activated next. Emergency surgery takes another 2 points off the judge. So now after that big gunsmith shooting, the judge only has 2 wounds on him.
Yep.
And he ran out and got the victory point that I got this turn.
But I wasn't foolish with my man Adam Hellbringer here. You did the shot. It was I couldn't, because of the soulstone usage on the judge, I knew I couldn't have taken him out. There is a damage prevention, but I still couldn't do enough to the judge overall. Even with the red joker being the max part of it, I just couldn't do specifics. You're kind of thinking about what I was looking at. I could not take the judge out. I could hurt him good, but I knew he had the soulstones to heal later, so he could have done it himself plus the orderly. All I would have done was been out there in the open, and then Peacebringers would have been firing at me a little bit more to that. I wasn't too sure if I wanted to do that.
What's wrong with being out in the open? I mean, that's where all the best people get shot. I mean, you would be in good company if you just got gunned down right out in the open.
Yeah, but he's my hero now. He's my Patreon supporter, so I gotta play with that. He's a smart guy, so he's supporting us, so I can't be foolish with a guy like that. So with that aspect, we're doing all right. So now we're doing what the dancers do. We're dancing away from the guild as the judge comes down the street, looking all fearsome though. I'm giving him his ferociousness. He's looking mighty intimidating with his marshals behind him.
Oh yeah.
It's not bad though. I mean, you're not dying, really. I mean, it hurts you a little bit, but you're gonna walk away with this with some pretty healthy guys. Unlike the other scenario where you saw a bloodbath, this has been a ballet.
Well, it's not over yet.
Still moving pretty quickly here.
Things have gone suspiciously well for me. I have no idea what's going to happen in the next 2 turns.
That's true. So we'll see comes who down to the street. I mean, I can do some things. Depends who comes out all by themselves. The judge comes out all by himself. It could be a little bit of a story here because everyone's in the back corner. But again, say this as I did the earlier turn. This is not about death and knocking out models, though, unless it's one of your schemes. Sometimes it's just about what you're doing. And obviously, right now, so far, it's not in mind with the convict labor. Yours is leave your mark, and I think you're setting up for a convict labor because you mentioned it before. So I kind of know what you're looking at, not a bloodbath. And I haven't revealed my second one yet, though. So.
Well, you haven't had to because convict labor has been working real good for you.
Yes. So far, and I got a 1-point lead to that, and like I said, it's set up to go into turn 3 doing the same, no matter really what the guild does. So it's making it sit pretty, and as long as I don't give up the reckoning, I have a pretty good chance in this scenario. So you ready for turn 4?
Let's do it.
All right, turn 4. Alright, we're going into turn 4. A little bit more activity going on now. The executioner's, he's down the street and came down the street and he's looking a little PO'd.
Hey, the guild, our heads are kind of hurting. We're hurting because this has been very thinky. This has been a lot of thinky and not a whole lot of shooty smashy. So things are starting to develop. Things are working a little bit, but it's definitely It's definitely different. It's almost like I know what I'm doing, and things are actually kind of working.
Yep, you're playing your catch-up, hit another leave your mark. Death Marshal did that after the judge decided he was going to get a little involved, and he took a couple wounds off of our Patreon supporter, our gunsmith. The executioner kind of came up, he destroyed a ski marker for what was kind of right there, and then so I slowed him up, I put a mannequin in front of him, and then I tried to cast a couple things on him, just kind of bring him out a little bit more, but he resisted everything. From what you saw in the pictures like that. I tried to siren and call him out. Didn't happen, so decided to safeguard. Got a mannequin in the way, so he's going to have to go through that before he really gets anywhere else. So I'm okay with that. The big characters are all right in that aspect there.
Yeah, he's well rested from being in the pine box for a couple of turns.
Good point.
And then came out, and the first thing that he was able to do was to destroy a ski marker. So he is so excited about actually being combat effective that he just isn't letting anything stop him.
Yeah, totally.
So it's...
And you got everyone kind of going around the back side, so basically another leave your mark is in the potentials for that. I still have quite a bit left over for schemes on the far side of this, where the executioner can't really do too much of a push in this turn 5. But if I don't get my next scheme, and well, it really is the other Death Marshal coming around has to place that next one. If I don't bring anyone on top of him, because there is things about enemy models to do the turf war, that'll be a tie game possibly. That's
the thing, because leave your mark maxes out at 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't just rely on that. I have to try and get some convict labor going on, which is not 100% set up yet.
Yeah.
So if I don't get the convict labor to happen, then I'm going to max out at 3, and there won't be anything else that I can do about it.
But it's been a pretty good rope-a-dope fight once again between the guilds so far and the Arcanas. Like I said, trying some things, but the executioner is coming down pretty heavy. Judge is a little still off, but he's still got his little shooting kind of going on with things like that. So we'll see how that kind of pulls. The big help really has been, for me, has been Angelica with the Give Him an Encore, just being able to pull models off. You had the arrest on the gunsmith, Adam, but I was able to pull him off regardless, still take 2 shots, but you know, did a little bit here and there, but not much else has really been happening. Just a little bit of wounds, but all the models have remained, so nothing at a Reckoning right now.
Yeah, nothing on the Reckoning is going to happen on my side, I know.
So yeah, it's going to be pretty tough. I mean, you could kill the mannequin this turn, then you'd have to get to Adam, but he's hard to kill. So that'd be really 2 great shots that would have to kind of be part of that from what everything got set up here. So that's dicey. For me, I don't see it. I mean, the Executioner is a 10 wound model. I haven't done anything to him yet so far, and I have the Judge, who's only a little bit wounded. So that's, again, these are very rare incidents for me to have that happen as well. So the Reckonings, like I said, have been off the board.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's going to be the last turn. It's going to be, my plans will have to work pretty much perfectly for anything to work, and that never happens. So let's see what happens.
All right, that crucial initiative is what we're looking for. Okay, we have wrapped up the 5th and final turn. It has pretty much came to that. So kind of what you saw a lot of going on happening was the Judge came up, did some cool motivating that execution. I had slow on him because just to kind of go the thing. Got the mannequin first. I won the initiative.
Yep.
The mannequin put slow and awe on the executioner. Now those are both key pivotal points to this whole thing going on because all was negative.
It means that instead of 2 action points, the executioner only gets 1, and any attack that he makes is at a -1 flip.
Yes.
But what actually worked out really well was instead of activating the executioner, I activated the Judge. The Judge moved forward. He used Unrelenting Leader and commanded the executioner to make a melee attack. So I got that spell off. The executioner makes a melee attack.
First one hit. Even though he's doped up. And then because it worked so well, I actually got the trigger off to trigger a second one. So the executioner went again, missed. And then in his own action... Well, Cassandra moved up, because then I was trying to get a little tricky. I had to move Cassandra because she had Nimble to move up to set up a ski marker. Now I had detonate the charges. So what I was trying to hope to do was set it in between enough the judge and the executioner. But the judge was about a couple inches too far away. So then I knew I had to move Cassandra up. Then I needed some luck to get the showgirls to get him in here. But as I set the thing down, that's when you did your thing.
So then I activated the executioner, and the newly set ski marker allowed the executioner to do Trail of Gore to get a free melee action, which I don't think actually even landed.
No, it didn't land, thank God. Like,
because of the awe.
The awe was what saved it, otherwise you could.
After that, the executioner used his one lowly activation point to make his 4th attack in one round,
again,
with only one, but he had awe on him still, so at a -1 flip, he still missed.
If I had not won that initiative and I'd gotten that next card off, which I cheated down to kind of get to get that trigger off and be tricky about it, this could have been brutal. That was a great play between two characters for this game for you, because you could have gone through the mannequin and then started hurting somebody else and been right in the midst of things. That would have been awesome. And I also would not have been able to set up again, this detonate the charges late. You had mentioned how hard it was before. I was thinking, like, I think I can kind of get this kind of going on, but then the mannequin was used so much as a shield that it didn't have that tossing ability kind of going on. That I was like, kind of got stuck where I could only move so far to put the schemes down. So it became a very interesting tactical ploy for that.
So actually, if I won the initiative, then I would have done that first before you put the ski marker down. So the executioner only would have gotten 2.
But you would have crushed the mannequin pretty well, and I would not have thought about luring so much.
It still would have been an awe, so it still would have been pretty much the same, but not as
pretty
cool.
rough with that. So what kind of happened then? He got his leave the mark, but the death marshal has been in the corner. That's been pretty far away. But as he kind of basically got the judge all healed up through the orderly and stuff, and keeping everyone else kind of protected, a death marshal kind of came up. I think he dropped the final scheme to do the setup for yours. Or no, it was the one before. He was kind of there. I pulled him with a siren call to get him close to that last detonate the charge to get me 2 more to work pretty well with that. So that's where that kind of.
So that was the point that. So my final convict labor token was right up against the building, and you can't quite see where the center line is, but it still works. It doesn't need to be on the visible center line. It just needs to be near the center line. So that was my ploy to tie the game.
Yes.
And then, because I was able to tie the game, you were able to use the siren call, pulled him out, use detonate the charges, and that's what
I would have won.
the tie.
I would have won the game because the executioner was that close. If, like I said, the win for me was the executioner was tied up with a mannequin. You stopped one of my close, but I still had playing models behind, which was why I had to use the gunsmith. Adam came through and put the final scheme down that basically won this game for me, because if he didn't, I would have been in a little bit of a mess. He got me a couple extra, which ends up being an extra script, more or less. I think, well, maybe it's the same, but it ended up pretty well with that. I enjoyed the fact that the Patreon, Adam came through for me near the end to put that last one in there to break the tie, because it was.
And that was, I mean, this has actually been the best game that I've had, the second best game I've had ever, and the best game that I've had on camera. And still, the Patreon gunsmith was able to pull it out for you and win the game for you, because it was his ski marker that allowed detonate the charges to go off.
Thank you, Patreon player.
So that
helpers,
that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
And I gotta say, probably this is maybe a historical moment here, especially for Spectre Studios. There's not a single model was removed.
No, actually,
the mannequin got close.
It's been very light on Carnage.
Yeah, but we were moving around. We were definitely playing to the strategies and schemes pretty heavily, and which wasn't too heavily hurting anybody, so I didn't really try to do that. The mannequin came close. I dolled her up there, but her own abilities saved her butt for that. Otherwise, it could have been a little brutal for that aspect there. But you know, the Death Marshal, we got a little bit, maybe could have been getting dicey if there was another turn, because he got poisoned. Yeah. With that siren call. That was, so he didn't really quite like that aspect either. But other than that, we're all gonna go home. A little upset. So the weekly thing was if we killed somebody and you were next to 2 inches, I was dancing all around it, but Nobody died.
Nobody died, so nobody gets the money for killing.
And our horrible strategy between the two of our faction crews, the Reckoning is again unresolved pretty much. So that's not really helping a lot between the two of us. So there it goes. I gotta say, my end thoughts to this was, I think Cassandra again with Angelica, using performers, just using the showgirl abilities, really have that synergy down to just lay scheme markers really all over the place. We were at the 40 Soulstone game. I put a little bit of heat with the gunsmith, but the orderly for you, having the henchman, really hard to kill. I could get through some of the things, but just wasn't enough because of the cover of the buildings and stuff, which was a unique aspect of that. But I liked what was going on. Definitely playing scheme markers for me to kind of really set something up, and that's why I thought the detonate the charges would work benefit. If you kind of came down the middle at me, which I was kind of maybe hoping, one of those schemes was going to transform into another.
Yeah, if we had gone directly head to head, then it would have gone way worse for me, and it would have been way more bloody.
Right, but again, like I said, recapping out of this, the game is about strategy and schemes and kind of look at what you're doing, and you walked away because of the corner you took and the protection of the buildings.
Yep.
You were able to come away with quite a bit of effectiveness of the game, and the game was that close even with what was happening because of the element of how we had to look at strategy-wise. I thought you played that very well with Justice coming around, or Judge. So Judge was pretty cool with that. So what do you think recap-wise?
I think that I think we've pretty much covered it all. It worked out really well. I'm actually starting to get a bit more of a handle on Malifaux, where I was able to recognize what your force was able to do and actually anticipate what you were likely to do and what my best response would be. The Judge and the Death Marshals are pretty much straight up beat sticks, but I've gotten good enough to recognize that this was the time to move around the side and actually try to be more subtle, try to be more schemy, and actually get victory points rather than just spilling blood.
Yep.
And it ended up paying off for me.
Yeah, and it also showed you also used a trick that I think has been out there for a while, the Pine Box,
Yep.
to use as a defensive measure to protect higher rank models so you don't get sniped.
And interestingly, it was Adam, our Patreon player, that told me about that trick and
What did you learn
advised
about
me to
that?
use it. So,
On the forum part?
well, yeah.
Yes, I'm telling you. So, again, thank you very much for watching and viewing what we basically did here. You want to watch more Malifaux again, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. But you can find us at spectrestudio.us. That has our webpage. There's a lot of things going there, and you can join our Patreon supporting there. So if you liked what we were doing with Adam, didn't get to showcase too much of his abilities, but I think the thing we've noticed with the camera, though, is Patreon heroes are lucky.
Patreon heroes are really lucky, and the person who is pushing them is also
Gets very happy,
benefits from it
very
too.
happy. So you make a lot of us gaming very happy having a Patreon player on our side. We'd definitely like to see some Patreon supporters come up, but we have one on each side.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't had the balance yet, so far. We've gotten spread around a couple of games now, which I'm very pleased with, and I hope that people are enjoying the support as we have some great terrain and things going on. But you can do that and join, and that's been very good. Mark's been enjoying being one himself as well as being as a player here. So he had the first time starting to face some other Patreon pledges this time. So that's been pretty interesting here. And the last part of that is it crosses over to our forum. That leads to a lot of us where me and Mark are also on. We do a lot of our discussions with the videos that we do, because of course we do terrain time episodes for us quite a bit. That has led to some very interesting things. With a lot of the terrain that you're basically seeing now. So if you see a lot of good stuff that's happening here, there's going to be probably a lot of video links that this gentleman here is doing for us for Spectre Studios. So again, we appreciate all the support that you do there. You can join us there and find and talk to us about anything you basically see, and some more Malifaux ideas, because Adam, our New England henchman, has been putting a lot of things on finds there, and as of this episode, he showed us some things while we were doing for Gen Con.
That's true. And so a Patreon and terrain time related note, Patreon supporters have the ability to contact me directly and suggest things for me to do tutorials on. So if you're working on a Malifaux figure or Malifaux terrain that's giving you a hard time, our Patreon supporters can definitely put forward the idea of what they'd like to see me help them with, and I will work on getting that up for you.
Yep. And we do have if you do see Malifaux as a game you would enjoy, there's a couple things related, since we'll continue to advertise on kind of what we're doing. We have a complete unboxing of the starter set that Malifaux, Weird has put out for Malifaux, the second edition, which comes with the crew there. Myself and John did all 5 scenarios for that, so you want to learn a little bit more what you're seeing for the Malifaux, for that aspect there. And Mark has also put together some Malifaux figures, so if you are getting some of those models and unsure what you can do with that, that video is also available. So again, we're trying to do quite a bit of things, so if you do like what you're seeing here, remember we're trying to do a lot more. The forum helps direct us and direct things that you want to see more of and get involved. But again, I think Spectre Studios is more of a story element of what we're going on. Again, we're doing the shifting loyalties campaigns. We haven't written a lot of stories in part of things right now with this game, but this is the same crew. We've had to use the same people. We couldn't gone on and just get any model that we basically wanted to do. So those are some things you're looking at. And of course, I've gone about now named all my people, so they're going well. And Adam has been an easy name one because he became a Patreon supporter for that. So again, thank you, Adam, for joining the Malifaux Patreon support pledge and becoming a hero in this game. So that is my final thought. Mark, any final thoughts for you?
I think that the guild has done a whole lot of thinking already today, and they got really bad headaches and just want to go drink.
All right, thanks again.
Spectre Studios takes you into the story with Benito Senense on YouTube, and you can take an active role as a hero in the videos by supporting the studio on our Patreon page at patreon.com/Benito Senense. Malifaux is a tabletop skirmish game produced by Weird Miniatures LLC and can be found at weirdgames.net and at your local retail game store. Remember to stay safe out there, because bad things happen.
Spectre Studios, playing for the spirit of the game.